Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving into something absolutely massive, the new free trade agreement between India and the European Union. People are calling it one of the most significant economic pacts of this century, and, well, in the next few minutes, you're going to see exactly why.
Look, that's not just some catchy marketing slogan. That's genuinely how experts are describing this thing, and for a really good reason. The sheer scale, the depth of this deal, it's unlike almost any other trade agreement India has ever signed. So, to really get a grip on that scale, let's just start with the number of people involved. This agreement directly impacts the combined population of India and all 27 member states of the EU. Yeah, you heard that right. We are talking about 2 billion consumers and producers, all under one economic umbrella. And what does that mean in terms of money? Well, you put these two partners together, and they represent a whopping 25% of the entire global GDP. A quarter of the world's economy. So you can see, this isn't just some regional deal. Its ripple effects are going to be felt all across the globe. And this number right here? This is just the starting line. Right now, the annual trade in goods between India and the EU is already sitting at around $140 billion. But as you're about to see, the whole point of this deal is to send that number into the stratosphere.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into what makes this deal so monumental. Then we'll jump into the real engine of the agreement, the great tariff takedown. After that, we'll look at the tough choices India had to make, the huge wins it scored, and finally, what the road ahead looks like, with all its opportunities and hurdles.
Okay, first things first. Let's really understand why everyone keeps using words like historic. This is so much more than just trimming a few taxes on goods at the border. What we're looking at is a truly comprehensive economic partnership.
And it's so comprehensive because of just how much it covers. I mean, look at this. It goes way beyond just goods and services. It sets new rules for investment, it protects intellectual property, and it even has shared commitments on things like sustainability and supply chain cooperation. It really is a blueprint for how to do business in the 21st century.
Now let's get to the heart of it all, tariffs. You know, those taxes on imported goods? This deal is designed to basically dismantle them on a scale we've never really seen before.
But wow, this did not happen overnight. Just look at this timeline. This was a journey that took almost 2 decades. Negotiations actually started way back in 2007, then they completely stalled for 8 long years, and were only fired back up in 2021. That's what it took to finally get us to the deal we have today.
So what was the result of all that back and forth? Well, this number says it all. A massive 90% of all tariff lines, that is, the different categories of taxes, are going to be reduced or just wiped out completely. Now, this won't happen all at once. It's going to be phased in over the next 5 to 10 years, but it will fundamentally change how goods flow between India and Europe.
Of course, a deal this huge requires give and take from both sides. It's a negotiation after all. So, what did India have to put on the table? Let's take a look at the concessions India made, which were really calculated risks designed to get a much bigger prize.
And here are some of the biggest ones. Just look at European cars. The tariff plummets from as high as 110% all the way down to just 10%. And for wines and spirits, a massive 150% tariff gets slashed down to between 20 and 40%. What this means is that premium European goods are about to get a whole lot cheaper for Indian consumers.
But this is super important. India didn't just open the floodgates, it built in some very clever safeguards. For example, that new 10% tariff on cars, it only applies to the first 250,000 vehicles imported each year. This is a smart way to protect India's own domestic auto industry while still opening up that luxury market.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin. What did India get in return from making those concessions? This is where the deal goes from being just interesting to being a potential game changer for some of India's most critical industries.
And here they are, India's major wins. These key labor-intensive sectors like textiles and leather goods, which used to face tariffs as high as 12%, will now get zero tariff access to that huge European market. This is an enormous boost for Indian manufacturing and could potentially create millions of jobs. And it gets even better. Beyond just physical goods, the wins in the services sector are absolutely massive. India's world-class IT and consulting firms get much better access. Crucially, the EU will now recognize more Indian professional degrees. And maybe the biggest win of all? The deal allows for uncapped mobility. That means no quotas on the number of Indian students and professionals who can go to the EU to study or work. That's huge.
So the ink is dry, the deal is signed. But what happens now? Let's zoom out and look at the long-term vision, which, as you can imagine, includes some incredible opportunities, but also some very real challenges.
You know, a key reason for doing this whole deal is something called strategic autonomy. In a world where global politics are always shifting, this agreement allows India to diversify its trade partners. It ensures it isn't too dependent on any single country. It's really a strategic chess move to make India a more central and independent player in global trade.
The ambition here is crystal clear, and they've put a number on it. Both sides have set a target to double their trade volume in just the next 7 to 8 years. That is a bold, bold goal, and it shows just how much faith they have in the power of this agreement. But the path forward really needs a balanced view. On the one hand, the opportunities are just immense. A huge boost for the Make in India initiative, technology transfer, getting deeper into global supply chains. But on the other hand, there are hurdles. Some domestic industries, like auto and dairy, are worried about the new competition. And India will definitely face pressure to align with the EU's very strict labor and environmental standards.
And all of this brings us to our final big question. This agreement gives India an unprecedented platform. It has the potential to absolutely supercharge its economy and really elevate its standing on the world stage. But turning all that potential into reality, that's going to depend on navigating the challenges ahead. So, will this be the moment India truly arrives as a global trade superpower? Well, only time will tell.